You can call that one, but you should say beforehand, I hope everyone can count.
Let's count
to
7.
Well, just make sure you can
2,
count 7,
3.
because if you can't count 7, it's not worth
It's
doing
not
the
worth
dance.
it.
Now, I remember watching them doing it at Alison, and there was obviously one couple who couldn't count to 7 or had to.
Oh no!
And you just saw this knot, this problematic knot spreading.
Oh no!
Throughout the circle, because that's it.
It's
7.
such a shame.
You pass 7 people, it goes really quickly. It's everybody. In no time, everybody. We're off the subject.
We're off the subject. We're talking about dances
That's
and
fascinating.
music.
That's so cool.
There was one couple yesterday that
it was very funny.
Sara explained all of the steps, and then she was like, and now the twist is that you're going to change partners at the end of each time you go round. And this couple just looked at each other, took each other's hands and walked away.
Because they didn't want to change partner. Ridiculous. And also, you'd seen them. Yes. You'd already seen them in the circle, and because in the circle they just got into the dance, but didn't realise what it was all about. Yeah. And you also changed couples.
You changed couples, Oh, that was in the barn dance, Canadian barn dance.
Well, yeah, when they left, And the little twist, the great thing about this dance is that you change couples.
Yeah. Which to us is great.
One couple say, what?
Yeah.
They just left.
And they left. That's what Marcus said. Well, perhaps they'd had a look at all the other ones and thought, no, there's nobody there I'm interested in dancing.
Yeah, exactly. Something like that.
I think it was the guy who said, come on, let's go.
No, I think it's the girl that left. Or maybe it's the guy.
It's the guy who didn't want the girl dancing with other people.
I felt that. That was the second one. That was when they came back.
The thing that happened is that the guy said, something, and then I saw her walk off in a huff, you know.
Oh yeah. In
a huff and a puff, or whatever you say, and then
you do say in a huff.
And then he just walked off with her, but I thought maybe it was him that didn't want her.
No, don't. I'm sorry. Come back.
Come back.
I'll just stay and dance with the other girls.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
Yeah. Don't forget to turn your face a little this way.
Well, you know.
It's just very practical, but
okay.
Just to let you know. So yeah, cool.
Is it all going?
Yeah, it's all set.
That's
we clapped,
fantastic.
so we are on air.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. No, thank you all for coming. That's great. So I mean, let's go into the topic, I guess. I mean, if you want to say anything more about the dance of yesterday, that was a great story also.
All good.
Yeah. All good? Okay, well. So, yeah, I would like you to talk a little more about, like we talked before, that you just came back from your trip, for your trips, because you've been moving around a lot recently. So, India, Mexico, what else? So, yeah, what have you been doing?
So, we've been playing a lot of music with plants, and the trips were just people invited us to come in India to share the music of plants and what it's all about, and we were really happy to travel to share something special about another subject, basically something very deep, and we were invited in different universities, so that was just such a great opportunity.
That was in Mexico?
No, in India.
In India.
And so it was a great time. What would you say?
Yeah.
Now I can ask. No, but mostly, What was the context of this this invitation? What is the institution that asked you to come?
So we had how do you say partenariat is like a partnership with a university that's in the south of France called Listia in Nice, and they were in contact with Jean Toby, and Jean knew we were going to go to India and said this is the perfect opportunity to do a collaboration. And so he put us in contact with this university that specialized in agriculture. And we did a presentation of all the different research that's done here in France, and we also went to different other places, very different places, where we just did the presentation with the music of plants. But yeah, so I mean, that's very much like what we've just done this week. But I think the real interesting thing is that we've been working with the music of plants for over 6 years now. And it's been just such an evolving learning process on so many different aspects on different levels.
Just to say, we are not scientific, and we're just musicians, and we just discover how to create like a language between plants and music, and we are just musicians.
Yeah, but you've been to this conference in France at the CBN, the National Botanic Center, I think that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what was the context of that, and because this is more like a academic situation.
Yeah. Well, they were. Their main subject was about biodiversity and how to bring people from town, because it was in Lyon, so it's a big town. How to bring different people from different horizons to have more consciousness about the needs of biodiversity in town. And they wanted to have something a little bit different, like a side part in the evening where there would be music, because music always brings people together. It makes like a different atmosphere, you know. People feel at ease. It's not just talk, but it's also music, and it's music with the plants. And so they were very interested by the project. And we were preceding a conference about how to make alliances, like alliance. Thanks. How to make alliances between local politicians, people that live in the town, and also artists, because artists can really bring a lot of messages through art or through music. So that was the idea. That's why we were invited to that place.
So what do you do in this kind of events? Because I think maybe you have like a way you're presenting something, you're talking about what you do, and you're also doing music. It's kind of conference or concert.
It's often a conference. To start with, just so that people realize what it's about. Music of plants, it sounds a bit, I don't know, what is it? How...
a little crazy, maybe?
Yeah, a bit crazy, or just original, or I don't know how people perceive it. But so we really talk about a context, how plants communicate already between each other in nature, how plants are, all these things we don't know about plants and trees. We're just starting to realize that there's a huge network of communication. Maybe communication isn't the right word, but basically interactions between plants. And just understanding that, lots of examples, and then understanding that plants are really alive. They're not just
they're not just there, they're doing things.
Exactly, they're doing things in all the time, 24 hours on 24. And they have electric activity, like we have electric activity as well. And how if I think something in my brain, it'll send out an electric impulse in my body. And so plants have the same thing of electric impulses. And so this device we work with that will help us to... Well, that's the, how do you say? It's the device that will translate the electric activity of the plant into musical notes. So then we can hear different melodies listening to different plants.
That's very interesting. I mean, obviously I'm very interested in that. Like I read a recent paper. I don't know what journal it was, but I told you about this. The fact that plants and flowers mostly, are electric charged, but negatively electric charged, and the insect that pollinate the flowers, they are positively charged electrically. And so there is also this exchange of polarity that helps for the transfer of pollen, basically, to go from the flower to the bees, basically. And so what was crazy about it, that you realize that the electric charge of the insect is modulated by the movement of the wings, and so there is a real signal, a communication, like a radio signal from the plant to the bee and the bee to the plant, and they'll be able to measure the signal from the one plant. The same thing, I think, that the device you talked about, basically, roughly, and send it back to another plant that reacted as if it was in contact with the insect or something. So there's a real aspect of communication that we're starting to really understand and measure also scientifically.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the bees, they can they know afterwards which flower has already been pollinated and which one hasn't, or which one has had has still got pollen or not, because of these charges. So they know exactly why they're going to that flower and not to another flower. I mean, it's an automatism, you know. It's like
it made me think also deeper, because in the paper they detailed like the different part of the flower, the structure of the flower. They removed part by part to see how still responsive it is to the electromagnetic signal generated. And so each part has its own system of perception and its importance in the perception of the whole signal. And so it made me think also that we can see a lot of similarities between flowers and insects that they are connected to in this symbiotic relationship they have, and they co-evolved through millions of years. And so we can see the result of this communication, basically. I mean, that was my idea at the moment I read this. That can explain why there is so much exchange of information. That would explain that there is so much convergence in the shape and the colors and everything. I mean, you can see plants that look like I don't know, bees, bumblebees, like the orchids also.
Orchids, they
orchids,
can really look like.
Yeah, and also insects that look like plants. I see like this mantis, praying mantis, looking like orchids too. Also,
yeah.
I mean, that always fascinated me. So, yeah.
So it's just like one extra thing showing how they have interactions. So basically it's kind of obvious for us when we realize that we were interacting with plants musically, when we know all the background of how plants communicate in their natural environment. I'm like, okay, that's why it's so incredible when we play with the plants and they're really interactive.
So you feel this interaction when you play with plants? Yeah. You feel that it's communication, just not the one way, that the plant is doing something and you're just around. Yeah, you feel...
Yeah, us and the public also.
But tell me more about this interaction with the public.
We play with the plants, and after the huge interaction, we ask to the public, did you notice something? Did you feel or did you hear something? And most of the people say, wow, yes, but they not so much stuff to say, just yes, we heard something, but
it sort of feels sometimes how is it possible that it's so sometimes the plant is so synchronized with, we're all synchronized, you know. It's like a on the spot thing. It happens where we start playing, the plant is playing, and at some moment it really synchronizes. And what does synchronize mean? It means that the plant is like, if we're playing a certain rhythm, the plant comes into the rhythm, and the chord changes. And I'm not telling Damien, let's do this chord change, or let's do this tune that we know together. We have experimented that already, but just by feeling like it happens on the moment, and the plant is there on the moment, on the spot with us as well. And it happens loads of times. It's not just once. It's not just once by chance.
That's incredible. So to go back to the situation in the CBN, in the Botanic Center in France, what was going on there, and how was it for you as an experience? Because I guess, out of your comfort zone somehow.
Well, we didn't have much time to explain about the context for plants, and we only had 45 minutes to do the talking and the concert.
Now, who were you presenting in front of?
How?
Well, who? Sorry.
Who were we presenting? Oh, mainly botanists from the this National Botanical Center. So it's like a meeting of botanists around France. It's a national meeting, and it was in a school, l'école normale supérieure. So it's like a high class school.
It was in a new, like, big, huge room, and all the door was closed.
An amphitheater.
An amphitheater, yeah.
And so it felt a little bit.
Yeah. Maybe
Intimidating? Was it intimidating?
Yeah, well, a little bit, and also just it's not natural. You know, we're used to doing it maybe in spaces where there's nature around, or there's light, natural light. This was in the dark. I mean, we've already done these concerts in the dark, but dark places, you know. But the fact that everything's closed and they're very new spaces. I don't know how the plants were feeling, but what's interesting is that when we plugged them on, before people came into the room, there was a lot of sound and they were very active. So the more there's electric activity, the more notes come out through the device. And as soon as there was about 120 people that came in, there was hardly any activity. We started playing with the aloe vera, and there were very few notes. It was so slow. And we were like, this is not as usual, because usually when we start interacting with the plant, I don't know, there's something exciting about the whole thing, and there's a lot of electric activity that comes out. And so here there was nothing, less and less, and then it stopped, and then all the plants, not one plant wanted to make music, was sending out a signal.
For 20 minutes.
A long 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Right. And then so we were like, okay, what shall we do? Maybe there's something going on in the room. Maybe some people were very skeptical. Well, we didn't know. Damien said, I'm sure there's skeptical people in the room. Obviously, there's always skeptical people that think, how is this possible? Especially if they haven't had the time to really understand what it's all about.
Yeah, in this...
So you say, if there's someone skeptical, maybe you should go take the door and go out. And one guy went out, and immediately the plant starts.
That's crazy.
So it started making sound, and then we didn't say anything. We're like, okay, great, the plant's making sound. Let's go and listen. Let's just spend a bit of time listening to it and interact a little bit with the plant. So the plant was fern. But
this happened right after the guy left the room.
Yeah, this guy, you saw the guy leave. I didn't even see that guy.
Okay, I go out because I don't trust.
I don't agree.
I don't trust it. He was curious because he wanted. But he said, okay, I'm going out.
After you said every skeptical out.
I will try to go out to see what happened. So he went and stuff.
And then we had the incredible thing is that the phone really started doing a lot of electric activity. We got into the mood of the music, and it was an amazing interaction. It was incredible. But I kept on saying before the plant had started playing, I was saying, this is so rare. It's so rare that we don't have any activity at all. It was like blocked, nothing. So then it was really, it was a relief, and it was also just so beautiful how the plant was interacting. And then we finished the concert, and in the evening, for sure, the guy that organized the evening was like, there's two other people that left as well at the same time when you said that, so it makes a difference. But it's just something we observe,
It is interesting for people to see this, because they say, okay, it's not working for 20 minutes, and after people go out, it's working. Wow.
There's
amazing.
something there, yeah.
Yes.
It's just a coincidence.
Yes,
As
it's
you
like,
say.
wow.
So happened that,
Yeah. And for people, it was like a real action.
Experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
And do you have a lot of this kind of situation when you feel people are not very receptive to the idea, to the whole concept, or is this generally more accepted when you go where you go?
In general, where we play, you mean?
Yeah.
There's always some people that that will be, asking themselves questions, which is completely normal, and but as I say, if we have time to really settle into the subject, it changes everything. Or if people are very open-minded, if you're very open-minded and you think, yeah, of course, music of plants, why not? The plants will never not give a signal. It's really in places where there's a lot of skeptical people, or people that don't believe, or how can it be possible, asking themselves loads of questions, and this can't be possible. Plants do not make music, or I don't know what, or they don't interact. Plants don't have a possibility of deciding for themselves, whereas this is what we're saying. So or we're not even saying it, it's just you can hear it. So yeah.
And so what do you explain when you have time to explain? What is the message you send to people to prepare them, to put them in the mood for plant music?
Lots of examples, like I was saying, of interacting, of how they interact in their environment, and also just understanding how it all works. So where did we go from? Who are we? We're just musicians. How did we get to meet the music of plants? And how the device works. Where does the device come from? So just to talk about all that, basically the electric activity of plants has been studied for years, like way before nowadays. In the 1800s, Sir Jagannath Chandra Bose was a physicist that was already studying these how plant interacts, or I'd say reacts to exterior stimuli like cold or warm or hot or other things that would go on in the environment of the plant, and he would see how the electric diagram would move. And then over the years, more and more people were interested in this electrophysiology, so like the electric impulses of plants and how they translate things going on for the plant. And then about 20 years ago, an engineer in northern Italy thought, well, why don't we translate these electric impulses into musical notes? So that was he just thought it would be an interesting thing to have as to bring more consciousness for people to see plants differently. To
perceive what's happening, basically.
Exactly. To give maybe like a sound is so close to what we're used to, because it's a sense and that we're very used to. And so having something like that is kind of it's very powerful from a plant. So you see the plant world differently.
Yeah. I think it's good to go around the tree, like try to receive something without the device, and with the device, and you can make the difference if you find the difference. Because we have the possibility to receive something without the device. So the device does just come to show you how the trees explain themselves.
It's for the people who don't perceive the tree directly. I think most of us don't really perceive. I mean, what you say is interesting, but I'm from a scientific background, and so it's not very well admitted that you go in the forest and you can feel the tree. You can feel it with your senses, your material senses, but that's that basically. So yeah, basically you have something that can reveal a perception that is somehow hidden from us. I mean, we're going to talk about like Jean Toby and Gojak, that he's being a big proponent of this topic. But that's how I met the subject, and I first heard a fern plant at the first botanical concert in Paris. It was in the Jardin de Vincennes. And so there's this stage and this huge fern plant. I think it's like 125 years old. It's a huge one, a beautiful plant. And then everybody sits around and ready to listen to the concert. We don't really know what to expect. It's the first botanical concert. And so the plant is plugged to this device. And then there is a sound coming out. Okay, it's a digital sound coming from a system, electronic and stuff. But I was there and I was like, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I feel like I'm hearing something that I already perceive, as you said. I mean, I can't say how and why and this and that, but it made sense. I mean, yeah, this is the activity. It's doing something. And I can perceive it directly with my own senses, not with like measure and stuff like this. And we know plants are doing things, they have activity. But then you can really perceive it directly. That's consciously, as you said. I think that's a great tool.
It is. That's why they created it, was really so that it's a tool and that it's not like you don't have to have it, but it's just something that reminds that it's possible to connect and to reconnect, because we all have it inside us. It's just that we're not, as used to going out and looking at a plant, greeting the plant, saying hello to the plant, just spending a bit more time with plants.
And maybe we don't trust also this kind of feelings because they're not validated by measurements. But for me, it was a real eye-opener to hear a plant, and it made sense. Yeah.
Yes, of course.
I'd like to ask you a question as a scientist, which is about what the electrical impulse in the plant actually is. I mean, as I've understood electrical impulses, they're between one pole, if you like, and another pole that kind of creates something that's going on. I mean, is that what's happening with the plant? And in that case, is that happening all the time? Are all plants always emitting an electrical activity?
Yeah, so as you said, basically electrical activity is the movement of charge from positive to negative poles. That's what you said, and that's right. Basically, that's how we see things. And in the plant, it's in the ground or in a pot, but you have the roots are at a certain electrical level, and the leaves and the top is a different electrical level. And also there are charged particles moving through the plant, so like ions in the, how do you call that, the liquid that is in the plant, the water of the plant. So it's transporting also elements, and there are many.
Okay, through the sap of the plant.
For the sap, there are also ions. Yeah, so
okay.
It's like basically in us also we have. I mean, we can measure electrical variation in the body. We measure the heart one with the electrocardiogram. We measure the electromagnetic field generated by the movement of ions in the heart, because the way our heart cells contract always is by moving ions charge. So this movement of ions creating electromagnetic field, basically we are a big magnet. And that's what you measure with the electrocardiogram. And you can also measure the movement of charge in the brain with the electroencephalograms. In the plant, they don't have like a heart or a brain. It's different, it's more diffuse, but it is always this movement of I don't know if there are pulses. It's this aspect of we can measure, but to understand what it's actually doing is there are many things on this topic, but it's not yet very fully known.
Because I wonder about how that translates into music, which has a rhythm. Because I have actually watched your interaction with the plants, and what I've noticed and been absolutely astonished by is that Sara and Damien can propose a rhythm, and the plant will reply with the same rhythm, as though what's actually happening is the plant is. Now, I don't know if the plant can actually hear the rhythm, or whether something. So it doesn't necessarily correspond to the pulsations that are happening in the plant. It's like something else, because it's adjusting to what the plant. Well, you could almost say the plant is hearing.
I mean, we know for a fact that plants are perceiving sounds. I mean, as difficult it is to admit in some academic milieu. We know this from like 50 years of scientific studies. But so, in the case of the device that is used to play music of the plant, the way it works, as my understanding goes, is that it's not trying to get the peaks, it's measuring the variation in the electrical resistance of the plant that is correlated to this electrical activity. It's like if you say a light detector, you put it on the skin and you can follow the variation of the electric charge of the skin because of moisture and stuff like that, that the body is really reactive to emotion, and the skin is an extension of the nervous system, actually. So that's why it's so reactive to what we feel inside, and that's why we are so skin sensitive sometimes. So it's the same principle. So the variation of the resistance, so this electrical component of the plant, is measured. And if you want, you have this virtual keyboard inside the device. It's a digital keyboard, and the variation of the resistivity of the plant, the resistance of the plant, is gonna, for each value of this resistance, if it's held for a certain amount of time, is gonna press a key on the keyboard. But this is all like digitalized. It's not a real keyboard. So, in that sense, the plant is really playing on the keyboard by changing its, it is changing its resistance. It's a strong assumption, but the way it's perceived is that what she does is when the resistance is changing, it's pressing different keys on the keyboard, and that's what we hear. It's a pre-sampled sound. It's a recorded sound that is a MIDI sound, like in any MIDI device, and it's played according to the key on this virtual keyboard that is pressed by the various value of resistance. I don't know if it's clear,
Yeah, thank you. That is clear.
And there are many ways to do that. That's the way they did. Like this engineer from Italy, from Damanur, and there are many ways of doing this. I don't know if it's the best one, but it is actually showing the changes in electrical activity of the plant. It's correlated. It's not exactly that. It's not like the plant is producing this sound. We don't know that. Because also you can see it differently. You can see the plant is doing these variations, and you can also convert this variation more like more exactly that the plant is doing. Like difference between singing and playing on an instrument is two different things. But even in singing, we tend to go on specific notes, specific pitches. So in that sense, music also is. We can talk about this, but music is a tool also, a very strong tool to interact with these aspects of reality and vibration and frequencies.
Is the electrical impulse that plants generate, is that the same? Is it? So I'm thinking about the thing about trees communicating with each other, which there's been more research on, I think, coming up with some quite astonishing things, like trees being able to communicate what chemical they need to produce, the next tree along needs to produce to defend itself against something that's attacking the trees, things like that. Is it the same sort of function, or is that another? Because I know that they've found that it goes through sort of root systems and mushrooms and all that. But it's the actual way in which the information is transmitted. Is that the same as what's going on with the plants when the plant makes music?
Yeah, that's a very deep field of study. That's very fascinating and deep, and there are more and more research about it. From my understanding, as far as today, what we know is that we don't know. So we know that there are, basically the plant is not moving at the speed we consider what moving is. So it has to be very able with the interaction with the environment at so many levels. So there are so many ways they can interact with various things. One experiment that has been made in Australia by this researcher, Monica Gagliano, she showed that plants can communicate without light, without sound, she didn't qualify the nature of this communication. She put like the mother plant under like this glass bulb and other daughter plants around, and she was able to measure a variation in one plant and in the others correlated without any known mean of interaction, basically.
Yeah.
But this is also, we know that plant can communicate via biochemicals in the air or via fungi, mycorrhizas network in the soil. And something came to mind, but I can't remember quite now. So there are many ways. Like the example I took with the bees, it's more based on this electrical component.
Yeah.
But I think it would be limiting to think about this unidimensionally. It's like the skin. We measure the electricity on the skin, but it's just like a result of many things happening inside the body, and we're just measuring one aspect of how it is expressed. So there is a correlation, and maybe that's why we can't find exactly what it's saying or this and that.
Because it's too complex.
Yeah,
we haven't got the tools yet.
Yeah,
there's tools and there's understanding, because it's things that it's quite difficult for people to get their heads around. To think, gosh, that's really true. I mean, I know that when I've talked about music of plants with people, that quite often they sort of say, well, how can it possibly work?
It's kind of shocking
it's sort of shocking for people, because they have an idea of how everything fits together, and it's something else.
And I think the fact that they can hear music or sound is the less shocking thing of all, because there's so many more things that actually. What I'm thinking about just previously, also to give another example, there is an Israeli team that showed recently that plant can, I don't know if they communicate, but they emit sound, very loud sound in the ultrasound domain, and it's the same realm of sound that insects use, or bats or animals like this, and maybe other sounds. So they showed that they produce this kind of pulse of sound, but only in stress condition. But perhaps it's not only in stress condition. It's very new exploration. But they can measure up to several meters away. So if you have ultrasound ears, like a bat, you can hear a plant, like actually hear a plant, and it's normal for you. It's like it has always been like this.
Yeah. But in medieval times, the mandragora plant, they said that when you pick it, it screams. What's that about?
They were up to
Did
something.
They hear something that we don't?
Yeah, perhaps. It's like when you grow in age, you hear less and less frequencies, like high frequency especially.
Tell me about it.
No, maybe we're the same. Maybe we're aging as a civilization or species, and we hear less and less. I don't know. Yeah, well, that's.
I've got a little anecdote that you might want to edit out, because I don't know whether it's relevant.
I like to. We don't edit out.
Sara and Damien actually do a kind of plant therapy thing with music of plants, where they invite people to spend an hour with a plant on their own, just them and the plant making the music, and you start off telling the plant who you are and what you would like the plant to communicate with you about, and then half an hour where you just relax and listen to the plant, and then another quarter of an hour where you tell the plant what it was like for you. You give the plant a bit of feedback, and so I did this. It was interesting. And when it came to telling the plant what it had been like for me, I felt that I was talking too much, because as a well-brought-up English person, I tend to, if I'm having a conversation, I'll try and make it two-way. I wanted so I said to the plant, and how was it for you to spend this time with me? And the plant, which had been quite happily going bleep, bloop, bloop, bleep, bloop, nothing. It just went completely quiet. It was as though it didn't want that sort of question. And then Sarah came in and gave it a bit of water and said it's all right, and it started up again.
It's all right.
It's all right.
That's Yeah, we can anthropomorphize, as you say.
Exactly. I don't think you'll put that in. I think you should edit it out.
It's interesting.
But it is very interesting, because it was immediate. It was as soon as I actually asked the plant something else, something that was to do with the plant. But maybe, you see, I think it was thinking, well, this is, she's just a human being. She doesn't understand what it's like from, she's not even communicating with me in the right way. That's what it felt like.
Well, it comes back to the multi-dimensions, I think. They're in so many different levels that they're like, they wouldn't answer something really specifically because it was there the plant is always making like a balance, of its environment. So that's what happens in those therapy sessions, is that the music that will be produced, the notes, the specific notes, are very specific ones. And when the right amount of notes have been done, the balance have been done, the plant stops. And that actually happens quite a bit in different therapy sessions. So sometimes, and it often happens at the end when you're like the question and answer moment, where you're saying so there is a little bit of a question and answer, but often the plant does stop at that moment.
Right.
It's kind of said everything it has to say.
Maybe it had said everything it had to say.
Or, put out each sound that it had to.
Yeah.
And then there's something interesting. It reminds me of this lady we met in Findhorn called Laura Passetti, and she did a study in the Dartington College of Ecology. That one in Dartington. Application of ecology. And so she it was very interesting because she was with one of the teachers said, okay, so for the next 4 days we have just one devoir, how do you say that, like homework. You have to go out and meet a plant because a plant has something to teach you. And that was very weird for everybody, that was a bit it was a big thing. They were like, what are we going to do, go and walk out and sit with a plant? What's going to happen? And she did this, and she sat down with a nettle, and she had an incredible experience, and she really created like a relationship with this nettle, and then she started like writing. So she started writing everything that had happened, like the meeting, how did she feel, how she was feeling that the nettle was answering some questions and all this. She wrote a play about it called The Nettle and I. And basically what she learned by spending these 4 days with the nettle is that nettles are not like humans. They don't do emotions. You know how we like, oh, poor little plant, you're on your own and you must feel so lonely. But that's very, very human-like way of seeing a plant. The plants don't function like that at all. They function as a global unity, a global unit, and they're all interconnected between each other over the world, basically. In the same species, they're interconnected, and in the same area, like a field. They're all communicating between each other. And so she really got that message from the plant saying, don't just sit there and feel sorry for me. I'm fine. And like she realized that the plant, this nettle, was going to be cut because there was someone had said that they were going to cut that whole field in a few days. And so she was feeling terrible about it. But she realized through all this time spent with it that actually it's just us projecting our own sorrow or our human projections on plants, and but plants don't go down that road. So I thought that was quite interesting, with how we expect things from plants or how they're gonna respond, but actually it's not like that. They're really teaching us another way of seeing things, and it's the same with music. We feel they're teaching us such a different way of interacting, of being in the moment with the plant musically.
Yeah,
it's not the same.
It's very, very deep, actually, that you can have a new point of view that you didn't yourself expect from just interacting at some level with a plant. So that's very interesting. Like, how comes that you have this new idea, this new concept, this new vision of things from something you didn't have before, just by interaction. And so I was to ask you if you feel the same, as you said, with the music, but also like the musical creation, the inspiration. Do you feel that plants can inspire you in new ways that you wouldn't on your own go?
Wow, it's very inspiring because they're just very free when you listen to them. When you listen to music of plants, you sort of think, wow, what is this? Where are they going? And at the beginning, it feels even a little bit. In French, we say déroutant. A bit. You could think disturbing. How am I going to play with this music that's so complex? It's like free jazz multiplied by 10. It's like I don't understand anything of what's going on. But then the wonderful thing about it is that what we realized over the years of playing with the music of plants is that it's to do with an inner state of ourselves. So we instead of like trying to follow what the plant is doing and trying to do comment on dit, to imitate the plant, we actually sort of go into a mode in our, you can tell me how you feel about it as well, but we go into a mode of not projecting what we're going to be playing, not like having an idea of exactly where we're going to go and what we're going to be playing, but just let's just do it and do it now, like without I don't know what it's going to be. And when I'm in that mode, when I'm there and I'm really just in the present moment, centered, I'm not thinking about something else, I'm just here and now with the plant, it's amazing. It's so something happens. And a fantastic example is when you ride a horse, people that ride horses and that jump obstacles when they're riding, they become one with the horse. I mean, when I was looking at videos of this, the rider and the horse merge together. If the rider has a split second of inattention, the horse won't be able to go over the obstacle because they're one, because they're so, they're synchronized in that specific moment. And it's really the same feeling with the plants. If we start thinking about something, or oh no, that wasn't the right chord, or oh, I should go and do a C sharp now, it won't work. It doesn't. The plant doesn't respond anyway.
You don't need to intellectualize the thing. Just
that's
need to be present.
Yeah, I'd say that's the main thing. It's like being present and without
in the moment,
wanting things. You know how you want something. You want. I want the plant to do this with me. It doesn't work like that.
But I think also musical skills don't hurt in this context.
Don't what?
Don't hurt. You have to be master of your instrument also again.
Well, yeah, I mean, then some people, with their voice, they can just do full improvisation and not think about... It's not about technique, it's not about being an amazing musician, like technically how we see very good musicians. It's about being in tune or something like that, being really just here and now and without trying to impose anything to the plant and accepting that the plant is actually going to bring... We're going to go together now, and it's not me imposing something. All that stuff.
So you think like anyone can play music with plants? Like, is it accessible?
Absolutely, for sure, and it's a wonderful experience. It's really yeah.
But what we notice with Jean-Toby is he show us how you put like he put like a valse. Boom, chak, chak, boom, chak, chak on the
keyboard.
On a keyboard, like the drum, and you have a button just to accelerate it. So you put the plant on, you put a boom, chak, chak on the keyboard, so the plant playing, and you just accelerate it. You push, plus, more and more quick, and you can hear the plant changing the rhythm and go through this accelerated notes.
Who's John Toby?
Jean-Toby is
Great question.
Thanks.
We were waiting for that question.
Jean-Toby is our master. We learn with him how to play with plants. So he introduced like in this way to do it. So, but there's so many ways to do it, and yeah, it's a huge world. There's so many things to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Jean-Toby basically, he's pépiniériste, like someone who's growing plants.
A tree nursery.
A tree nursery, yeah.
Nurseryman.
And,
But-
and a
Nurseryman.
and a musician.
A musician, and then he calls himself also a musinériste because he's growing plants for their musical property. And so he lives and has his activity in the south of France, at Gaujac. It's a very nice place that I'm happy to know about. And so, yeah, hi Jean. So yeah, he's been very dedicated to working with. I mean, he has a passion for plants basically, and every tool that can enhance this interaction. I'm talking for him right now, but I mean that's how I perceive him. Any tool that can help to interact with these plants is a gift. I mean, he's in his view, I think, and so he developed quite a knowledge about plants he has already, but the way each species of plant is going to respond differently and going to produce specific sounds. And you can show that each species going to start the same type of music when you plug them to the device, and then it's going to have its own personality. So there's so many aspects of it, as you said, and that's really fascinating. I mean, yeah, he's the one. I think in France he's the one the more advanced in this topic. That's why he deserves that you call him the master.
Yeah.
That's yeah.
He's done a lot of research, and he's very he wants to bring all these things that he's discovering through the plants and the music of plants to a larger community of people, so that people understand what's going on through this music of plants. So, you know, we were talking about the engineer Damanur that made this device that we're working with. They just wanted it as a tool to bring more consciousness, but Jean has brought it to another level and has really met the right people to do deep research about what are these notes, what do they correspond to something, that are they random or not? And he's realized that they're not random, and that they are they really correspond to the environment, to the plant itself. So he can diagnose through listening to the music of plants, and helping that with the help of this fantastic team of very different people from different areas that are showing today. And we're really in a very how can I say
Pioneer age.
Exactly, it's pioneer. It's outbreaking or something like that. Like a very new, fresh topic. So it's very it's really exciting, and
He has this great capacity to bring around people from, as you said, many fields, academic fields, scientists, musicians, and people of all sort of interest. So
also medical.
the medical aspect is said for the music therapy with the plant music, and that's a whole topic in itself. And I think it deserves more scrutiny from medicine in general, because that it's promising, it's interesting and promising. Deserve to be studied more. But he's not a scientific himself, Jean, and he doesn't ever say he's scientific, and the opposite, because he knows his field of competence and leave the rest to the other, but he has this ability to bring people together. And actually that's how we met each other, so thanks to Jean.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, how did you met Jean-Toby?
We met him in the festival of Marciac, so where he wanted to make an opportunity for musicians, jazz musicians, to play with the music of plants and also to discover all about the subject. It was nearly 6 or 7 years ago, and then we had a very good connection, and he invited. He said, "Why don't you come and try and play with the music of plants in Gojak?" So we that's how we started to discover this whole world. And over the years, learning so much, you know, each time we play with plants, it's like learning new things, how plants react. But also going to Gojak and going to the International Festival of Music of Plants, we learn so much from the different conferences and how all this is all connected, and there's so much information out there that we're decoding and understanding.
How is it first for you when both of you, when you start playing with this device? Because you are used to play with acoustic, natural instruments, not digitized instruments.
It's like when you play, you are in control with your instruments. Like, okay, we're going to play together, but someone or other we start together, like 1, 2, 3, and we play. We start. Or otherwise, there was maybe a drum start, and we all going to play with the drum. But with the plant, it's like, okay, I'm going to play this, but the plant don't follow you. It's not working like this. So, what we going to do?
So you're always following the plant?
No, exactly. That what I was saying. We're not following each other. That's really.
It's really like we learn that is we have to listen to her, and if you really like another musician, if you really want to play to have like a really good feeling, is that with a musician, it's like because you really are in tune with a musician. So more musicians there are, and you have to be in tune with all the musicians. This is a good practice. And with the plants, it's the same. So you have to be in tune with all the plants, and it's working. So there's a lot of way to do it. But we notice that there's some tune that plant like, some notes, suite of notes, and when we play it, they really like it because we like it too.
And it's like they recognize it. It's as if they have a kind of memory. So there's some plants that we play a lot with, and they've kind of memorized a certain sequence. And when we start playing that sequence, it will start doing exactly what we had already done, because in a way.
I think
that's very surprising.
Maybe for the electric activity we have in us, and so we are like giving this kind of electric activity, so the plant feel also this. So I think this way it's like a onde.
A wave, yeah.
A wave, yeah.
So you feel it's like this. Your perception is that you have this field around you, this wave field, and this is what is interacting with the plants.
Yeah, I think Jean says the plants are connected to our brain waves and our waves of our heart or our brain waves.
But this is one way, because also when you put the pum chak chak and it's just a keyboard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is also the mechanical aspect of the wave, the mechanical sound wave.
Yeah.
You know that it's interesting about the memory. Just to put some water in your meal. Can you say that no, it's a French expression. Mettre de l'eau au moulin.
Yeah, just to
How do you say that?
develop the
subject.
Develop the subject.
I don't know. I'm trying something.
I don't know. We don't really talk about putting water in the mill.
Okay.
Dans le vin.
Yeah, well, that's something else.
Different.
Now what I was going to say.
Grist to the mill, we say.
Grist.
Don't we? Don't we say grist to the mill?
I don't know this word, but I learned.
Okay.
Thank you. So yeah, there's this French team working right now, and since like some years now, 5 years, in the agronomic lab, that they show that when you stimulate a plant with a sound frequency, they're not going into the information aspect of sound. Sound is not the carrier of information, but just the carrier of a mechanical wave, as so far as we do in France, because trying to getting used to the concept of plant perceiving stuff different than what we think of. But then they show that the plant has a different response to fungi invasion, for example, because they inoculate a fungi on a plant that is cultivated in the lab, so you have exactly replicable experiment, and they follow the evolution of the fungi spot on the leaves with the camera. So basically the plant is here, you broadcast a sound frequency, and then you see how it reacts to the inoculation of the fungi. And so they showed that not only the plant is reacting when you broadcast this frequency, but also if you broadcast the frequency and you wait for 3 days and then inoculate the plant with the fungi, it still have a memory of the exposure to the sound. Always you do like with the sound and without the sound in exact same setting, and then you can see that the plant has a reaction even delayed in time. So there is this aspect of memory. I mean, I guess the only difference between the two experiments we're talking about is that you are interacting with information, like patterns of information, like melodies. And here is just about one frequency. But in my opinion, the gap is not that great. I can see why it can be great, a big conceptual gap to jump. Because when you think about patterns, then you enter the realm of, I don't know, intelligence and stuff like that, the pattern recognition. But I don't think it's necessarily true. So, yeah, I think that really was interesting for me too. I was surprised by this very factual discovery. The plant have sound memory. We don't know how, we don't know why, but it does. They do. So, yeah.
Very interesting. Wow.
Marcus, I wanted to ask you a question as a musician. I mean, have you ever played with the plant music?
Yes.
You did?
Yeah.
What do you feel about it?
I feel I'm more like a plant because I also have no emotion. So I felt fine.
Yeah. Flat. But were you able to connect musically with the plant?
Not really, but also I wasn't playing alone with the plant. We were playing all three of us, so there was more instruments. So I guess I was probably more following what they were playing rather than following the plant itself.
But did you feel that there was a... I mean, did you feel it was part of the band or just something outside that you have to deal with?
Not really sure. I considered that at the time. It's just...
Yeah.
I was going to say, maybe we can talk a little bit of your field of research, because it comes in connection with these specific melodies that come from the music of plants, and just to understand a little bit more about how is there a link, a correlation
between the two subjects? Yeah. Well, first of all, I have to say that there are two very different subjects, and so because I know I've been presenting also our work at Gojac at Chantobi, and some people have. I can understand why mixed understanding that is the same thing, that plant music and what we do with genetics is the same concept, the same idea, the same purpose, and it's not. It's really different. And so I met Jean first at this concert, botanic concert in Paris, and then I heard about plant doing music, and the topic I'm working with, the team at Genetics, is the follow-up to the work of French physicist Joël Sternheimer, who developed this concept about correlating or calculating the frequency associated to biological molecules that are amino acids and proteins that are formed of these amino acids. Proteins are like everything that is in our body, basically have a function, enzyme, hormones, and neurotransmitters and stuff like this. So by associating a frequency and a note to these biological molecules, then he was able to, by playing these sounds, this succession of frequencies, to interact with a living organism, to modulate the biological response for this specific molecule inside the body. So that was very, very interesting. And the way it evolved, it became a company that was applying, that the company name is Genetics, that I'm working with right now. It's been, I think, almost 10 years now. Okay. And so we developed applications of this concept for plant protection, mostly in the vine industry, because there was at the time a disease called SK that was taken care of with the arsenic, and that has been banned from years. It was forbidden to use that anymore. And so wine growers, they didn't have any other solution to cure the plants for diseases, and so the idea came from that, to use these sequences of sound that can interact with some specific aspect of the plant in its metabolism to make it more resistant to this disease. And it worked enough so that many producers of grape were interested in that, to protect the vine. And that's how we developed the activity of the company. So, and that's how we end up, as a fact, playing music to plants. And why music is because when you convert these living molecules that are proteins, complex molecules made of several sub-elements, and you play them by the frequency associated to the mass. I won't go too far into detail unless you ask me for. And then you realize that when you play those frequencies that we transpose in audible frequencies, then you have a melody. And so living molecules you have in your body, when you play them, they sound like some melodies. They are like musical patterns, musical interval, and that's very surprising. That's very intriguing. But what gave the idea of the French physicist Jules Steinheimer that made the discovery was that he read a paper about Japanese team of geneticists that work on the genes of the human genes, and in order to memorize the long chain of character that is the way is written, the genome, the DNA, they would attribute a note to each letter. There are 4 different letters in the genetic code, and they would whistle or sing those notes, those long sequence of letters, and they would remember better the sequence of DNA by whistling or singing it than just remember A, T, G, C, T, T. It was more fluent for the mind to interact with the notes. And why is that? It's known now that there are patterns that you can, like music is patterns, so you can find patterns in this sequence also. That is not surprising because DNA is basically pure information, so information has to be structured in patterns. If it's not, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, that's basically the definition of information, contrasted to noise, basically. So what was the question?
So how did you? So how does these melodies? So they interact directly with the living beings, right? With the plants. That's by making the. How does it work, genetics? You diffuse music in specific fields.
Yeah. So we identify for a given topic. I give the example on the vine, but there are many different topics in crop, or vegetable production and stuff like that. And so we install this box that is with speakers and a program made for broadcasting specific sequences for specific metabolic direction we want in the plant at specific times. And so it's implemented in the field, and then every day it's played for some time to in the moment that correspond to the way we think, or we have the experience that is better for the plant at the moment to resist to the. Yeah, so the link for me was interesting. It was not very direct because plant for music, music from plants and music for plants.
With and for.
Yeah, it's like you can see there is maybe a link between them, but you don't know what is this link, and that's what we've been exploring with John these past years, and it's very very interesting that we try to find musical patterns, or let's say also biological patterns in the music produced by the plant via the device that you described, and that has been interesting. It's we have to be very cautious because I mean you don't want to interpret this kind of stuff. It's very serious because now we talk about, like I said, the health of people that are coming here to have this music therapy, and then you start to say, yeah, we can see that. Yeah, it's
we are in a field of experience, and we're making experiences. Like we're still in the research. We're in the field of research. We're not like publicizing that this is how it is, and and that's it. It's more like this is what we've discovered. Here are the experiences we're doing, and these are the results of the experiences.
Yeah, exactly.
So and that's what's interesting because there are a lot of results and a lot of. It's especially in agriculture as well, where there's a, like Jean noticed that by playing the music of plants in his greenhouse, it would definitely enhance the plants in his greenhouse. So that all those experiences just made him think, okay, there's something going on here. What is it exactly?
Yeah, that's the kind of position we have. Like that, we trying to make sense of what we observe, basically. Yeah.
Exactly.
We observe something, and so for a start, when I met with the company Genetics, it was already well implanted in every wine countries in France, and I was intrigued. Like I like music, I play music, and I'm a scientist and biologist and environment engineer, and so I'm like, how is this possible? What there is music to help plants? I mean, how does that make sense? And that's crazy. And if it is real, and everybody need to work on that. I mean, that's so cool. And so I met the team of the company, and I've been on the field and see how it works. And okay, I see what you're doing. I see this, and that's interesting. Now I need, as a scientist, my own result. I mean that. In my opinion, as a scientist, you don't come and hear, okay, this is credible, this is not credible. No, you have to test hypotheses. I mean, that's what you're supposed to do. That's your job, not to believe or to not believe or disbelieve. And so we managed with the university in Cergy-Pontoise, with the huge help of Professor Olivier Gallet, that to create a small experiment to test our hypothesis on small sprouts of peas and try to see if we can modulate their growth and their resistance to drought, induce drought. To drought, yeah. In a controlled condition, as controlled can they be in the lab. But then you realize it's difficult to control in the lab, so imagine in the field, it's virtually impossible to have something controlled. And so yeah, we did that, and we were able to show very interesting things. That we tested different sequences, one to stimulate this synthesis of this molecule, this protein that we identify as able to help the plant to resist to drought, and also to inhibit this sequence by the same system of sound diffusion. And we were able to show that not only you can measure the difference in the growth, but also search for the specific protein inside the plant, and to see the difference in yield in this protein, the production of the protein itself inside the plant. So that was published in 2021, and that was quite a big achievement given the lack of money. We did this really like that, and that was cool. That was the first step. Yeah, and now we're continuing this research at a bigger scale and more partnership in research. So. Yeah. No, but I think we covered a lot of topics, I think, and we can maybe just wrap it up with your viewpoint of all this. Do you want to
Yeah.
do you want to add something about what we all discussed? And
Well, I think it's such an interesting field, and there's so much more to discover about, and so it's really exciting. We're gonna have other podcasts and have more opportunities to exchange and have other people as invitations. And thank you so much for coming and being with us.
yeah, thank you
So,
very much for being here.
Marcus and Alison are musicians that we play with, as in Irish music and Scottish music.
And also plant
passion.
music enthusiasts. I mean, especially Marcus.
So yeah, so I thought it was great to be able to exchange about all this today.
Well, thank you. It's been very interesting.
Yeah, and I hope we have the opportunity to do more of these kind of discussions. And you mentioned when we talk about the topic of music, plant music, and Gojak and Jean-Toby, you have a lot of people. Like we didn't mention Marc-Henri and Tommy Jack, and I mean a lot of people are working on this project, and that would be nice to have them also here to talk and to express these different aspects of the same topic, basically.
Exactly.
And to have this different field of expertise and also personal viewpoint in this free form discussion. I think that can be interesting to people. I hope so.
Yeah, for sure.
I hope it was interesting for most of us. And
Sure.
yeah, I mean, if anyone want to add something as a conclusion.
Look forward to the next podcast.
Yeah, to the next.
That's great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
If you
Okay.
spoonerize podcast, you get cod paste.
Code paste. I didn't get that.
If you take the first letter of each
Yes.
pod and cast, swap them round, you get cod paste.
Cod paste, fish paste.
Interesting.
They
But
were.
that's a very cultural reference, right? Because I don't even know what code paste is.
Fish paste is
I
this
mean,
thing that
you could-
in England, in Scotland, I guess, you
But-
you spread it on bread. It's dreadful.
But this is where you have it.
Pâté de morue.
Hmm?
Pâté de morue.
Pâté de morue. You have like this cod liver.
Oh
Is
yeah,
it the same?
yeah.
Yeah.
Cod
Yeah.
liver oil.
Yeah. I used to like that at some point in my life, but then not. I don't know. It's such an acquired taste, let's say.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's weird. But it's healthy.
it's very healthy. After the war, they gave it to kids. All
Yeah,
kids have
yeah.
to have it.
Very good for the kids. But at some point, I think in the past, we could find it everywhere. And now you have to
No.
take it to pharmacy or something.
Yeah, well, cod is threatened. you
Yeah,
know,
it's been
they're-
forbidden to
They used to be the
fish it.
really common fish,
Yeah.
and now they're a delicacy almost.
So
I
let
think-
this podcast not be like a cod fast. An endangered species.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. So much to tell, to talk with everybody, to try.
So many topics. Yeah, well, to the next.
To the next one.
Okay.
Fantastic. Thank
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And clap.